Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Agent Amber Nestor in Tennessee, and today I'm going to talk with you about divorce, child custody battles, and real estate. So let's get into it. You can check out my website to learn a bit more about me at TennesseeLandAndHomestore.com. You can text me anytime at 865-617-4783. So what we're going to get into in this video are countless case studies that I've personally studied in regards to real estate and families and multi-generational financial impact. I'm also going to touch a bit on my personal experiences with a very corrupt and very destructive custody court system. I might also touch on some cases that friends and loved ones that I am close to throughout my life have shared with me about their experiences, keeping everyone's names and identities private, of course. And then I'm going to talk about how I can help make this horrible situation so very much better for you and yours involved and impacted by divorce and child custody cases. So let's get into it. The first thing I would like to do in today's video is recommend a free movie. You can find this free movie on YouTube, and it's called Erasing Family. Erasing Family. And anybody that is going into a divorce battle or a child custody battle, no matter how it got started, no matter who you're up against, whether it's two private parties, whether it's parent against parent, whether it's husband against wife, whether it's mother against father, whether it's parent against grandparent, whether it's parent against DCS. There is so much destruction that happens unnecessarily in the courts because that is what maximizes billable hours for judges, for lawyers, for court processors, for therapy centers, and for the Department of Children's Services, and countless others that are part of the machine that is divorce and child custody. There's also a huge problem with the foster care system. So let's get into it. Back to what I was saying a moment ago, everyone should educate yourselves by watching the documentary movie called Erasing Family. That movie was created by a woman who was a child advocate. She herself was a victim of a high conflict divorce and custody battle. So her parents went through a messy divorce, and this wreaked havoc in everyone's lives. And she made it her personal mission in life to educate the public, not just in the United States of America, but in other countries worldwide. She's actually helped to get laws changed in some countries so that it helps to financially incentivize court systems to actually help families be more healed and whole through this process, to reduce financial destruction and to reduce trauma. So she's working on trying to help change legislation within the United States to help bring those types of changes about, those types of positive changes about within our wonderful country here, the USA. So I would encourage you to save where you're at in this video, pause this video, and go watch that movie right now. Then come back and let's continue here. Okay, so you're back and you've watched that video. Hopefully you've learned some things. All of the different people that are part of the courts and the divorce and child custody machine, when they create problems for your family, when they make problems that were already there worse, when they create complexity and pain and destruction, they make more money and more billable hours off of all of you. Oftentimes, attorneys that you think have your best interest at heart are having dinner with the judge and the opposition and laughing at you all the way to the bank. You might work with an attorney for years before you realize that this is happening to you. It's horrible. And it does not do anything positive for your finances or your assets. My focus as your real estate agent and your advocate for what's in the best interest, the real best interest of all parties involved in divorce or child custody, is to protect your assets, to make sure that your property is sold and marketed with the best quality marketing in the world so that you're able to get the best possible outcome in a horrible situation. Oftentimes, if a mother is against a father in a custody battle, the father is vilified because that is more profitable for the system. Oftentimes, if a single parent is against a grandparent, the single parent is vilified because that is more profitable for the system. Oftentimes, if a single parent is against DCS, the single parent is vilified because that is more profitable for the system. Occasionally, you will come across judges or GALs, which are guardian ad litem attorneys, or AALs, which are attorney ad litems. They will favor all the time, it seems like just dads, or all the time, it seems like just moms. So there's patterns here, and it's systems that are very broken and very, very corrupt. So I want to be that neutral party. I want to be that person that steps in and is not about taking sides at all, that is there to hear when you need to vent without judgment, without taking sides. Because let's face it, if you're being forced to liquidate an asset, a real estate asset, if I can stay focused for you on top marketing and get you the best results, then that is a step towards healing and positivity in everyone's lives. That's in the best interest of all parties. So how do I go about marketing your property so that you can get the best possible outcome? First things first, I want to have drone footage of the property, exterior, and the grounds, and the acreage. I also want to have an interior walkthrough video tour. If the MLS that we're listing it in has a max of 60 images, you better believe there's going to be 60 images that are going to focus on what's most pertinent and what we most want the public to know quickly about your property as they click through that slideshow. In the details area where there's, say, a limit of 4,000 characters, I want to make sure we max out that section with as much information as we can possibly provide to browsers, to search engines, to AI, and to the viewer, the reader, the buyer. When you list your property with me, it goes into one of the largest MLS databases in the state of Tennessee, and it's distributed out onto countless other websites. One of the things that I tell my listing clients is this: I dare you to find a website that matters where your property is not appearing. So far throughout my career, I have never had a seller come back and find a website where their property was not appearing. I'm able to achieve this through syndication systems. These are multiple databases that interact and distribute data to and from one another all over the world. Whether you're looking to sell a home or raw land or a farm or a large estate, something luxury, something in mid-renovation, something that's a challenge, I can get it done. I also give my sellers a lot of freedom in their contracts with me that is kind of a unique type of scenario. A phrase that I like to include in the customized section of my listing contracts is seller controls price. This means I'm going to make a recommendation for a pricing plan, but if something happens and your plans change and everyone is in agreement, then we can modify that plan at any time. As the owner and founder of my firm, I get to make decisions about customizable listing contracts. This means because I own my firm, I am not at the mercy of some other corporation or corporate leadership imposing on me a set of structured and strict listing contract rules. This gives me flexibility to give you different kinds of scenarios. For example, maybe there's a situation where you're going to handle all of your own showings. Maybe I'm going to receive the calls and texts inquiring about those showings. Maybe I'm going to keep the spreadsheet to schedule them and screen those potential buyers and buyers agents. But then you're going to be the one that's actually at the property letting people in and out after I've screened them, after I've scheduled them. Okay? So because you're taking on a large aspect of what would normally take up a lot of my time, in that scenario, I might offer you a discounted commission. In addition to things like that I'm able to do and have the freedom to do as the owner of my real estate firm, I also have an enormous amount of experience to build upon. I cannot tell you how many extremely challenging situations I have been presented related to real estate. I know how to take any property and figure out who is the target audience for this property, who would be best suited to utilize this property for its highest and best use. And then I use targeted marketing above and beyond what is the typical. No questions listings is where it's at, and that's what I aim to produce for all of my listing clients. I want someone to come across that listing and every question that could potentially pop into their mind be answered with a photo, a caption, or the details area. I want them to have access to high quality drone videos flying all over with a bird's eye view of your property. I want them to have that video walkthrough. So it's as though they are there, walking through each room, seeing it from every angle, looking up and looking down. One of my mottos in advertising and planning marketing is, make it easy for the buyer to fall in love. If you make it easy for a buyer to see everything they need to know quickly about your property, it removes all of the questions and risk that's in their mind. And it makes it easier for them to get attached to your listing and to be invested in your listing and to be ready to take that next step of an in-person showing or making a strong offer and feeling good about making that strong offer. Over the years, I've been a member of many support groups and advocate groups for parents who were impacted by divorce and child custody cases that were horrible, life-destroying, finance-destroying. One gentleman's case, who I did free consulting for over the years, had lost well over $1 million between the destruction that was done to his businesses and his assets. While his wife walked away with a new partner and the custody of the children, he battled for years and years just to try and have access and spend time with his children. The story was devastating, but one of the hardest parts for me as a real estate professional listening to what he had been through was the fact that while he was going through this process, this court attack on his life, he had no one in his corner to give him great advice about how to handle the real estate that his business owned and how to handle the real estate that he owned personally and in coordination with his former wife. Because neither he nor she had someone like me to consult with, there was no way I could advocate for them. There was no way I could help negotiate with them and for them. Instead, their attorneys created utter chaos, turned them against each other in the greatest way possible, and sent them both into total and utter ruin. This gentleman sent me a picture of his 2 young boys, and it was absolutely devastating. The picture of them was so sweet and so adorable, and these 2 young men in elementary school, their whole lives ahead of them, have no idea what had been stolen from what had been their very bright futures. While judges and lawyers and other members connected to the court walk away laughing all the way to the bank. I would strongly encourage you, no matter who you are, no matter what your position is in your custody case, if you own real estate or you co-own real estate that's either business or personal, and you're entering into a divorce case or a custody case, please reach out to me. I would like to talk with you, start out by text, and schedule a time for a more in-depth exploratory call and tell you my honest opinions about some strategies you could take to try to protect your assets from total ruin. Sometimes you might reach out to me after you're already in a stage where the judge has created a court order that's forcing the sale of a piece of property. If you're at that point and there's no turning back and that has to be a liquidated asset, I am going to fight tooth and nail with every resource and every creative idea I can come up with to make sure you get the most you possibly can in the time frame allotted. If you have an attorney that has recommended a real estate agent to you, I would caution you to get a second opinion from another agent, someone like myself, because that attorney is probably having leads just funneled to them by, or that agent rather that's friends with the attorney is probably having leads funneled to them all the time, which is great for the agent, but not necessarily what's in the best interest of the client being impacted by the agent. So always get a second opinion, or if you'd like a third and a fourth opinion, find out what agent is really going to work the hardest and the smartest for you. Your assets, your multi-generational wealth is what is at stake. You are the one that has to face that bank account, that has to face that debt, that has to face that loss, not the agent, not the attorney. So you need to make sure that when you select an agent, it's someone you can really trust to fight for what's in your best interest. The level of stress that is experienced in a divorce case or a child custody case is in the top 10 of most stressful events you can ever experience in your lifetime. It's important to be very kind to yourself and to do everything you can to take extra good care of yourself, because this is the type of stress that impacts your physical health, your mental health, and your financial health in profound and impactful ways. I understand this pain because unfortunately, I've lived it. In October of 2019, after raising my daughter without one penny of child support from her father, after he had made absolutely no attempt to be a part of her life, even though he was repeatedly invited, even though paternity was established, even though paternity was always known, I was slapped with a child custody battle, not by him, but from another family member. Never in a million years could I have fathomed that as a person with no criminal background, no bad history of any kind, extremely highly educated in multiple fields, a person of good reputation, a person that attended church and that was a member of a gym, and whose child was getting straight A's in school, who had the best health care, who had the best health insurance, who was glowing and bubbly everywhere that she went. Never could I have fathomed that a woman of my caliber and my accomplishment level could be attacked by such a system. But I was. Additionally, at that point in my life as a single and abandoned mother, I had just recently been approved by Stockton Mortgage for a mortgage that was going to allow my daughter and I to purchase a home on a large tract of acreage that we could then develop and turn into an investment to expand a real estate rental portfolio of short-term rentals, which would then be a legacy I would pass down to her and also grow upon for the rest of both of our lives. Reaching that point in my life and my career was such an incredible milestone. Endless weeks of 7-day work weeks and 6-day work weeks and overtime late night work weeks and continuing education after continuing education, paying every bill alone with no support from the government, no support from family, and no support from her father. And here I was about to finally change our lives forever, and I was slapped with a horrific and traumatizing and illegal custody battle. As a result of this custody battle, the entire real estate deal, which was going to change our lives and catapult us into wealth forever, was completely destroyed. All of my time, attention, energy, and money had to be redirected into this custody battle. The custody battle in which I was attacked was mishandled by a corrupt judge and a group of corrupt attorneys who I have on video colluding to carry out this corruption, in which they violated countless federal and state laws and rights for both myself and for my child. I was slandered, tormented, and tortured, and eventually relocated as a result of the extreme nature in which I was attacked in my life at every single level. But here I am today. Here I am today, and now, having gone through that, having survived that, I can understand in ways I honestly wish I could not what you are going through too. So, if you are looking at listing a property as the result of a divorce or a child custody battle, please know I will handle it with the utmost respect and sensitivity, and I want to make sure that we minimize the damage that you go through, and that I'm a neutral party that will do what is in your best interest. Reach out to me by text anytime at 865-617-4783.